Hey guys, welcome to Jack's Treasures and our podcast of What? Not Another Reselling Podcast, where we focus on the live reselling platforms in the reselling world. And today
we have a repeat guest with us. This was one of our earliest guests, and we decided to have him back on because he seems to sit really well with the subject we wanted to talk about today. This is SSKPROMO, aka Ken. You can find him on Whatnot and YouTube and all over the place.
Ken, we have a thing right here that says let Ken talk, and she didn't let you do anything.
It was expected. It was expected as a guest. It's the same, as the first time I was on. No, I really enjoyed my first appearance and appreciate you having me back. This is great. Love the show.
Our first repeater too.
So
Ken, tell everybody who you are.
My name is Ken, SSKPROMO, Mr. Bill, the DOG. I suffer from delusions of grandeur. And I am a full-time reseller, selling on both eBay platform for static listing stuff and also on Whatnot for my live selling. And I've been doing this little over 5 years, I think, as a full-time reseller, and just enjoy what I do, being unemployed for a living, I guess.
There you go.
To throw that out.
Which that is actually part of the topic that we're going to be talking about today. And by the way, if you want to find out anything more about Ken, like how he got started, check out our third episode.
Mm-hmm.
Where we talk to Ken and find out how he got started in reselling and a lot of other great information. So today, our topic today is going to be basically the ability that live selling gives you to go on adventures, to take vacations, and to basically just take a break. Mm-hmm. This all came about because Ken, on his show of Ken vs. 10, which releases every Wednesday at noon, he goes live. So you're going to check that one out on there. We will have links down there below to all of these. He announced that on his podcast of Unemployed for a Living that he does with Cory of Grams and Pops Vintage, that they were taking a break because the summer it's a very, very busy time, especially for Cory and Ken. They live up in northerner states than Tracy and I do. And so the yard selling season is super important for them because during the wintertime, they really don't have that yard selling season. So they're taking a break. So that's where we came up with this because we are also taking breaks to go on adventures.
Yes.
And one of our adventures is going to be with Ken, SSKPROMO, and his lovely significant other of Jill Kacherka. Next month, we are going to be in Ohio. We love Jill and Ken so much. But we're going to do some questions and answers because we always do questions and answers with our guests. And what questions and answers are pretty much focused on the advantages of live selling when it comes to going on adventures. Okay.
Yes.
So that's why Brian has his adventure hat on.
Yes.
Today.
Yes. I'm a cowboy.
Very Indiana Jones.
Yes. I don't have my normal hat on, which, by the way, we will mention towards the end of the show that tomorrow is Memorial Day. And I will be doing live on Whatnot. I don't think I'm going to be selling, though. I think I'm going to be just telling the story of Memorial Day so people can come in and do that because I am a veteran. All right. Our first question for Ken. These are tough ones, Ken. These are tough ones, right?
Okay.
Is there advantage to live selling versus static selling in regards to taking a break or going on a trip or taking an adventure?
I believe so. I think that one of the main advantages is that with live selling is that you're scheduling your shows around your life, or you can, depending on how deep you are in as a live seller, whether it's your full time, that's all that you do. If you're not also doing a static platform, as a live seller, you can schedule those shows around what you have going on, whether it's, just day to day, or if you want to take a trip someplace and go away, you can just not schedule a show during that time, which kind of takes away from some of the consistency of one of the key things in live selling, I think, is being consistent, being out there, having those regular shows. But you can schedule those around these trips, where the difference with that, with static selling, you may have to put your store on like a vacation mode or something like that, where you're not shipping, you're not getting the products out to people that might have expected them in a certain amount of time, or if they go on to your
the cat is scratching the door. I don't know if you can hear that.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wants to climb all over Tracy's head.
Right. That was happening before we hit the record button. The cat was literally on Tracy's head, which she'll be in here soon enough. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, one thing you mentioned is that sometimes it's hard to maintain the consistency. We have taken advantage of Whatnot's feature of offering community shows. So when we travel, we try to plan at least one show where we're not selling anything. We're just going on, we're talking, we're showing people where we are, we're doing things like that. I feel like that at least maintains our consistency on the platform, even if we're not making any money from it.
Not only your consistency on the platform, but live selling, I think there's a huge social aspect to the live selling. Not only are you showing your products and you're selling them during your shows, but people get to know you. There's a lot of times, you may have a show and there may be, just 20 people in there, and maybe 200, 300, 500 people in your show. And not all of those folks are buyers. Yes, exactly. Not, even if you have, 25, 30 people, you may only have 4 or 5 buyers that are in the show. What are the rest of the people there for? They're there maybe to see a good deal on something that they want. They're waiting around to see a particular item, but they're also there to, because they might enjoy your personality, your charisma, your delivery style. They just want to be a part of the show and be entertained, even when they're not buying. They just, and some shows are more entertaining than others. The shows that are just the straight sell are not, unless you're wanting to buy that particular product or whatever they are selling, they're not as entertaining as just hanging out in the show, watching, like, say, the interaction between you and Tracy, during a show, which is, I think, one of the big appeals to a Jack's Treasure show.
It's all real, too. When she's dogging me, she's dogging me for real.
You can't make that stuff up. You can't make that up. But so, having that, not only the consistency, and like you said, getting out there and doing a community show from someplace different. If you're traveling to Tennessee or you're coming up to Ohio or you're going, you're out west someplace, people go, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing out there? Maybe you're going to show some sites. Maybe you're going to talk about why you're there. Maybe it's a sourcing trip. Maybe it's just you're there for fun, to relax and get away. You get connected with people in more than just a buyer-seller relationship. And it is a community, and it is friendships. And, you like to check in with your friends, and being it's live video, you get that interaction with people. So, I think the social aspect of it as well is a big part.
Yeah. And you can basically do that from anywhere with that community aspect. So that was a great follow-up question, Tracy, and awesome answer, my friend Ken.
Of course.
So, if you are on the road, you're on an adventure. When you were down in Nashville, for instance, how do you source when you're on the road or exploring other places? Is it the same way you source at home, or do you source differently when you're on the road?
Well, pretty much the same sort of thing. Around here, I'm going to look for yard sales, garage sales, some estate sales. I'm going to go to the thrift stores. And, there's Goodwill's being kind of a national thing. They're all over. You can check those, but it's more the local, like the mom and pop thrift shops that are in certain areas. And so when I'm sourcing in another area, and it depends on what I'm going for. When I go away, I am going away to take a break from what I do normally, which is
Mm-hmm.
sourcing all the time, which is selling either live or listing stuff on a static platform. But to answer that question is, I don't really source any different. It's just neat to see the different stuff. I'll give you an example. We were recently, after the last Nashville meetup, we went to the St. Louis area. And when I'm around my area, I see a lot of Cleveland Indians. I'm in Ohio. I see a lot of Cleveland
Right.
Indians. I see Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State. I see the Cincinnati Reds, those sort of things.
Oh, wait, we're going
In
to see
St.
Ohio State stuff?
Ooh.
Oh, we might not be going to Ohio.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on. It was great to be here. No, but in that St. Louis area, I've seen a lot of, St. Louis Cardinals. I see all of
Mm-hmm.
their teams. And so I'm seeing all these different jerseys and different sports and stuff. It's just neat to see the different stuff in different
Absolutely.
areas.
Yes.
And, when I used to not pick up a lot of, say, Ohio State stuff or things around here because
Mm-hmm.
it seems to me to be so common.
Right,
Cleveland
right.
Indian stuff. You find that stuff all the time. It's not as exciting as when you're in someplace else and you say, "Oh, look at this jersey from the Nashville Predators" or something like that. When you're in a
Right,
different area.
right.
So
You almost become
sourcing,
blind to what you see around you. Like I don't even
yes,
blink when I see Georgia Bulldog stuff because it's
Or,
everywhere.
or Alabama Crimson Tide, which is about
yeah,
even for us
We're
whenever
right
we go
between the
anywhere.
two.
We're in between the two
exactly.
major schools. So, but yeah, I mean, that it brings up a great point of when you are going on an adventure as a live reseller or as a live reseller. If you're a live reseller, and let's say you go down to Orlando, okay, and
Yeah,
you're going to go to Disney World, and you go thrifting,
yeah,
because that's the best way for us to have a good tax write-off, is to do a little
exactly.
bit of thrifting, and
Yes.
then let's say that you find a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, well, what do I want to do? You can actually run a show while you're on a
Most
trip.
definitely.
Yeah, and
Then you
you're
don't have
just
to worry about shipping it back.
you don't have to worry about shipping it back or anything like that. You just
Yes.
bring some equipment with you and stuff like that. So, but going to some of those places, like we go to Florida a lot. We
Uh-huh.
go to Nashville, as Ken mentioned, especially at the Nashville meetup, right there, the Kit Nashville meetup. So, and it was a blast because we discovered a bins, which is actually, we don't have any bins around us at all.
Goodwill outlet.
Goodwill
Okay.
outlets. That's right. We don't
Yeah.
have any of them around us
Mm-mm.
at all. So it was neat to find those and to go
We're
into
kind of a
those.
little addicted right now.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Uh-huh.
But going on those ventures was to be able to do that, and even with a static listing, because we're not totally against static listing. We have eBay also. You find those one items. Tracy found an item when we went to Indiana. And we were in Gary, Indiana at the bins, and she sees this big, huge dog, plush dog, remember?
A husky.
It was a husky. First thing we thought of
Yes.
course, was Paul the Philly Flipper and Sky and
Sure.
Sasha.
Yes. Yes.
And Tracy finds it. We didn't list it right away because one of the biggest issues that I have with static listings, especially on eBay, is when you list it, even if you're on vacation mode, it does not go on vacation mode. That new item does not go on vacation
Not
mode.
always.
Not
It's,
always.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
It's one of those things where it's like you got to be really, really careful, because we were away for almost 7 days. So when we bought that, it was like really early on in our trip. But you can list the stuff. Like we might have listed it before we got home, and then it sold, and it did. It sold very, 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 very quick. So
Excellent.
great one on that. If you did live shows when you're on an adventure,
Yes.
how does it change depending on where you are? And would you showcase the particular adventure that you were on, or where you were?
I think that I would. As we talked before, being a social sort of a platform, that's interesting. I'm not just at home, in my living room, or in your case, in the basement or something like that, doing your show, it's like, hey, we traveled on this trip. We found these items when we were here, and I would definitely mention where I was and what we were doing and how we found the stuff. I think, some people are interested in it. Some people just want to see sell. They pop into your show for that. But some people are interested in, hey, what's going on? What's the adventure? Why did you find this thing? Because I was at this place having this, adventure. And as far as selling it while I'm on the trip, is there are some factors and some considerations to that as well. How long are you going to be gone? When are you going to be able to ship that item to your customer? If I'm just gone over the weekend and I do a show on a Friday or Saturday, I have till I'm going to be home on a Sunday. I have time to ship that stuff out within the business time frame of a Monday. If I do my show on Monday, I've got to get that stuff shipped out right away. And so there's considerations to how am I going to print my labels? Do I have boxes with me? Where am I going to get my boxes? And where's a shipping location? Where's the nearest post office or, postal store that might take, if I got to send it out, well, on Whatnot, you're not sending it out any other way than USPS. Which, there again is another advantage. Some may say a disadvantage or an advantage of that is only dealing with USPS, the Postal Service, and not being able to take advantage of a UPS or a FedEx or something like that. But most every place has a post office, so you can ship that stuff. So I would base whether I was having a selling show while out on an adventure, based on when I had that show, when I was getting home, and the types of items that I was selling. Whether they were bigger, smaller, there's a lot of factors.
There's a follow-up question to this. Yes. I remember a battle show that somebody had with Jill at a citywide, and they had a show, and it was an awesome show because not only did he showcase the items that they were selling and showcase it as a battle, but it was a battle that was formatted. How did you format that show on the sourcing end?
We had particular topics or particular categories that we had decided between Jill and I. And while we were out sourcing at the citywide, we had to find items that met these categories. And I think we had 10 categories, and Jill got to pick 5 and I got to pick 5 categories. And so we compared, and we had to buy, an item from each. And then we did our live show from the hotel room, and we let the people, we would show, like, I forget what the categories like one of the categories was music. So anything that was music, whether you found an instrument, maybe you found a vinyl album, whatever, something, it could have been a graphic t-shirt of a band or something like that. You would hold up your item. You would show, you would explain how it fit, why it was better than the other person's item. So Jill would show her item. The people would bid, just like a regular auction, and they got to choose which item of the two, just like your kind of standard battle format at that point. They got to choose the item, and we went down to whoever sold the most of their items that best met the criteria, the popularity from the audience. And for the life of me, I cannot remember who won. It just totally escapes me who won that battle.
If I'm not mistaken, there were some judges in the show. Maybe Jack's Treasures were the judges. We were judges.
Maybe we're modding and judging. So enlighten me. Who won that battle?
It seems like I remember Jill won that one, didn't she?
You know what? My memory is not as good because, I just celebrated my 60th birthday. So I could not say.
You are correct. Jill did beat me in that, which, I have a very good battle record on Whatnot. I love doing the battles because it's fun.
Okay, thanks for coming and joining us, Ken. We appreciated having you on.
Hey, I didn't bring up that I've beat you every single time I've battled you.
Brian's undefeated against you in May.
That's right. That is correct.
So we have that going for us.
This is true, but we're not battling in May. Aren't you?
Well, he gets to keep that record.
That's right.
Keep the record.
You cannot steal that from me. Cannot steal that from me.
I will not. I'm not that way. That's not in my nature. But kind of, I know where we're going with all of that. That was a very fun thing that Jill and I were able to incorporate sourcing out at a citywide sale where there's plenty of sales, plenty of items to pick from.
Because you literally made it an adventurous game of sourcing.
It made it fun, us going back and forth, trying to find items that met all of these different criterias. And the live selling allowed us to do that, to have that adventure, to have that fun during the day of sourcing, then come back and do the show, share that fun with everyone in a social aspect, and then recoup some of the money or make money that paid for all of the purchases, definitely paid for all of the purchases that we made that day and paid for some of the trip. And so that was exciting, and never know, we might incorporate that again this year. We will see.
That would be awesome because we will be up there also for the citywide sale. So that's just going to be amazing.
Go back just a hair. We were talking about how showing people the places around you is interesting. Well, about a month ago, we did a Battle of the Best from a Starbucks in Tennessee. And two people were in there and they're like, oh, I've been to that Starbucks before. I've driven right by that Starbucks before. And it's not a place that was especially exciting or anything, but just to have that connection with people, I think was very neat.
Yeah,
definitely.
And being able to incorporate a trip or an adventure for the citywide into a live selling platform is something you cannot do with a static selling. I mean, how are you going to do that with a static selling? You put it in a little description. This is a battle item right here. We're trying to battle against my thing. It just doesn't have that same appeal.
It does not.
As the other one does. So,
you want me to do that one?
This one.
Okay. What's the most unexpected or unique item you've ever found while adventuring that has ended up being a great sale?
And it can be a great sale anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Something that when we were not at home, and we found an item. Wow. You might stump me here. I don't want to hold up the show in the audience, but what is something that
I actually know of a couple of things that you've talked about that I've actually heard you talking about.
How about you answer the question.
Did you not go to West Virginia with Jill and go to a Goodwill store and have to protect something?
Yes, there you go. That was a great
story.
Yeah, Jill and I had went on an adventure. We follow a band around. Shout out to the band Feel.
I will put a link down there below
to the band Feel. And they were doing a show in West Virginia at a one of the casinos there, and right around the corner from the hotel was a Goodwill store, and it's again, when you're out and about, you got to go sourcing because you can, as long as you're sourcing, you're doing business, you can write that off a little bit. Some of the travel, some of the gas, some of the stay. But I had went around this store. Jill takes a lot longer than I do in a thrift store because she's looking at all the clothing, and I'm a hard goods guy, and Jill's a textiles or clothing or that sort of thing. So she is looking at that. I had been around this store several times, and one time I come around the corner, and they had just set out this sets of blow molds, nativity scene blow molds, which there was a set that was already sitting there, which is the one I would have wanted, which was like the 3 wise men, but there was already a sold sign on it. And the sold sign was they had the date and the time when it was bought, and it was just like with less than 2 hours before we were there. It's like, oh, had we got up out of bed, not went and, enjoyed the continental breakfast in the hotel lobby, we would have been there. But they brought out the rest of the pieces. The manger scene, the Mary and Joseph, there was a camel, there was like one of the sheep or whatever, and they were pretty cheap on these items. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to buy them, so that I had them in my cart, and people were circling my cart like vultures, just waiting, because they could tell I was looking stuff up, just waiting to see, or is he going to put that back? Is he going to put that back? We're going to be, like right here. And I would see him come, and look, just kind of look at him and kind of give me that nod, like, hey, nice find. Yeah, but I bought those for pretty cheap, came home, listed them, and I actually listed those on Facebook Marketplace for local pickup, because the bigger size, the nativity scene was the Mary, Joseph, the baby Jesus in the manger, all of that stuff. We've all seen those sets out. Yeah. And so, those are bigger, and I have shipped several of those, but might as well give it a shot on Marketplace first, not have to pay the extra fees. And so, yeah, that was a kind of a recent find that was good. Probably one of my best was a General Lee, like from Dukes of Hazzard, General Lee remote control car that I had found in the Cincinnati area. When we were there for a meetup and went out sourcing, and found this car. And of course, I worked them down on the price. I'm a haggler on just about everything. And it worked. Got some batteries, ran it around in the parking garage at the hotel, make sure it all worked. Got home and listed it. Boy, I forget. I want to think that thing went for close to like a couple $100, 150, something like that. And I paid like $15 for it or something like that. So another really good, exciting find that I was glad to pick up while out adventuring.
Well, I'm going to tell a story that Brian's heard a million times, and he's tired of hearing me say it. So I'm going to tell it to everybody else. You're not going to
tell about where the doctor's office is, right? That we drive by and you always point out.
No, this is a different one.
No, okay. This is a different story that I've heard a million times.
An adventuring story. It's my one that got away.
Oh.
We were in Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, God, yes. I've heard this story a lot.
It makes me want to cry. We go to an estate sale, and they have like 3 tables full of jewelry. They're asking $15 to $20 a piece. And that's a lot for me in jewelry. I'm not a jewelry expert.
Sure.
And I'm like, this stuff is really nice. So I pick out like 3 pieces that really speak to me. Get it back home. I realize this stuff is not just sterling. It's sterling with gold accents. I sold those 3 pieces for like $80, $120, and then like $200. And they had tables full, and they probably would have taken an offer for all of it. Yeah. And I let it get away.
And she has told me about this 1,000 times.
And that was when we were adventuring, and that is my one that got away, because I'm not knowledgeable in jewelry.
Exactly.
Now, Ken, have you ever seen any Whatnot shows or any live on the live platforms where people go live in the Goodwill, or they go live at a bins, or they go live at estate sales or yard sales?
And I love those sort of shows, not only to watch them because it's exciting. What are they going to find next? What are they going to find next? And it is, but from the seller side of that, brilliant. That's what I say, because your cost of goods is only going to be what you have already sold.
Right.
And, if you are, say, at a Goodwill bins or something like that, or yard sale, prices are usually pretty good. I love it. Shout out to my friend Kristen, a rural squirrel,
Mm-hmm.
who does that. She goes live from the bins to sell plush, and
Yes.
at her bins, my bins, they don't sell plush in my bins, because of regulations in the state of them having to be sanitized and all of
I've
that
heard
stuff
about
before they
that
Yes,
sell them.
yes.
So
places.
they
Yeah.
don't do that. Um, but say Kristen, she goes live from the bins
Mm-hmm.
and holds up, she stands at a plush bin and she'll hold up, hey, is anybody interested in this? And yes, if they are. If not, she throws it in another bin and she moves along. And it's great because you're going to make the money, you're going to make the profit. It's not like going to a yard sale or just going to a bins when you're not live, where you're buying stuff and taking a chance that it might sell or that you might be able to get good money on it. So I love those types of shows that people
Yeah.
are live. They're not without their challenges as well. You never know what you're going to find, what you're going to do. It helps if you have multiple people. I've seen people like say Flip the World Texas, Chris, that
That's
he's
what I
out
was
there,
going to mention.
and his wife is over. She's going out. She's picking stuff. She's picking stuff the whole time. He'll
Mm-hmm.
throw out there, are you looking for something? Oh, I need, this sort of an item. And people, then they go on the search for it and they hold it up. Yeah, great. Boom. It's sold.
He will
Uh,
be one of our
love it.
guests
Yeah, he
very
has
soon.
agreed to come
He's
on
agreed
and
to
talk
come
with
on,
us.
and we're literally
Excellent.
going to be talking
I
about
will look.
how to do a live show with no inventory.
Yes. I love that concept.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bins, there's a lot of locations that will not allow you to film or will not allow you
Correct.
to
Yeah.
do something like that. But if you're fortunate enough, or if you can build a relationship with your local, bins or thrift stores or whatever, where you can do that, great concept for live selling.
Yeah, I like that one myself. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to take their resale business on the road, more adventurous lifestyle?
Um, be prepared for what you might sell, when you're going to sell it, as far as that shipping aspect. You
Mm-hmm.
got to keep up on, in my one, and I'm, next day seller. If I'm selling on a static platform, I have one business day. So um, if you are going to do a show where you're midweek, be prepared. Take, most of us use a thermal laser or label printer, that
Mm-hmm.
take up that much space. Throw that in your suitcase if you're flying. Throw that, just in a bag if you're going to if you're driving. You could take some shipping
And don't forget the
supplies with you.
labels. Don't forget the
Yes,
labels.
and the power cord. And the
Yeah, the
power
power
cord.
cord. That's what gets me is the power cord.
I'll tell you, Amazon, if you're on Amazon Prime, you can get like same day shipping to one of those little Amazon lockers. That has saved our butt on various things
It
before.
has,
I
yeah.
Yes.
highly recommend that if you do forget something.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say, be prepared, if you're doing this for the first time. Obviously, if you're going on an adventure for the second time and you plan on live selling, you're going to know either where you fell short the first time or what you need to bring. But bring a printer. If you think you're going to, buy a lot of clothing or a lot of plush, throw a supply of some poly bags in with your supplies that you're going to take. Boxes and priority boxes, if that is what you're going to do. Obviously, if you're on a plane, you're not going to want to take a bunch of priority boxes with you. Um,
Right, right.
but be prepared. Be prepared to get stared at by a lot of people when you're just out there with, holding your phone, or you're setting the phone up on a tripod or something like that, and you're
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
live selling. People are going to obviously be curious. That's a great time to maybe get a new follower, or throw out the referral link to people
Mm-hmm.
that are not on Whatnot or don't know what you're doing. And just be prepared to be social, be fun, be, people walk up in the middle of your show, sticking their head in your camera. Hey, that's great. It's fun. It's part of the show. It's part of the social aspect. You never know what's going to happen.
You can't be talking about photo bombing, are you?
I am almost ready to turn pro in photo bombing.
I would say so.
I am very good at it, but I'm also not I'm not an annoyance to people. I make their experience of me photobombing a fun one for them as well.
Agreed.
And usually everybody goes away with a smile in the end. But yeah, I like to photobomb. I like to get in the middle of stuff.
One of the things that Ken just mentioned, which is super to me, it's super advantageous. Okay. Whatnot uses all USPS. Okay. United States Post Office. And he mentioned priority boxes. Where can you get priority boxes?
Free. You can get them free. Number one, if you use, I know at my post office, they only carry the flat rate boxes, the small, medium, large, the different sizes. But if you go online, USPS.com, set up an account, it's really quick and easy. You can get all of those priority boxes for free. They will ship them to you in quantities, 10 boxes, exactly. 25. You can order multiple sets.
You're going to talk about priority? Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We've noticed that sometimes the larger post offices do have more sizes.
Right.
Like we got so excited once we were down in Florida, we were out of the large priority box, not flat rate. And we went in.
This was Paul's post office.
Paul's post office. We walk in there and there was like 50 of them and we're like snagging them all because we can't get those locally. We have to remember to actually order them. Yeah. We're always out.
And here's one of the advantages to Whatnot is you can set up your custom shipping to be all flat rate shipping.
Yep.
And then you have all of those boxes for you right there at the post office. As long as and if you go up to the counter, they will have them too. They will have them too. Yeah. So a great advantage. You've actually answered our last question too, which would be how do you handle logistics of shipping and storing when you're not based in one location?
We've covered all that.
We basically have covered that one. So awesome questions, awesome answers, great insight of just when you go on these things to have fun and bring that personality with you when you go live. So we're now going to do our pros and cons section. And we mentioned last week on our 10th episode, which was our 10th anniversary episode, that we were changing around. Thank you very much, my friend. A lot of this, by the way, is due to Ken. Ken and Cory threw down a 30-day challenge. And our 30-day challenge was to go live and do a podcast. So we thank him and Cory very, very much for challenging us in doing that. But
so anybody who's tired of seeing these, blame Ken.
No, I think that
wherever he's at on your screen, he'll be on one of those sides. I promise you that. All right. Exactly. So we changed up our pros and cons where we were actually bringing our pros and cons, and now we're incorporating the guest in our pros and cons segment. So I'm going to start off with the con because we always want to end with the pro. We always wanted to leave the last taste in your mouth being one of the best tastes in your mouth.
Like dessert
or Jack and Cheese. The cheesiest.
That's actually what we're eating for dinner tonight.
We are.
I always have a box right here. This is the original because everybody knows I'm the Kraft mac and cheese guy. But speaking of originals,
he does. Here you go, guys.
Oh, wait.
Oh, you're knocking all kinds of stuff down.
Back there someplace on that table is the original Jack and Cheese.
The very first one.
The great idea that I have and that Brian steals all of them. But much appreciate that. So yes, we will con it and then we will mac and cheese it.
Yeah. So, yes. So what do you think the biggest problem with running a live show on the road would be?
Finding a location with a good signal, a good Wi-Fi signal. There's nothing more painful than That's like that the whole time, like where it's cutting in and out because they don't have. How was that? Did you guys think I was cutting in and out when I just
That
did
was
my?
really good.
That was
Thank you.
amazing. I mean, I literally thought, man, I'm gonna have to edit that part.
So one of the yeah, finding a location that is out of the way but still among the vibe that
Mhm.
has a good connection. Um I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is being able to produce a good show, uh
Mhm.
charge your batteries, have extra batteries, and if you can plug in that phone so you
Yes.
don't die in the middle of a show.
I will throw out one other thing. Considering that also is lighting, we've ran into that a lot trying to run other places, and
Yes.
sometimes the lighting is terrible, especially if you're trying to run outside. Sometimes you get too much lighting and you're
Yes.
all washed out. And
And
Yes.
sometimes you get behind trees,
hmm
and then you're in the light, but the product or the phone or the camera is in the dark,
right.
and you have
Yes.
a big issue with
So
that.
I,
So
I would
yeah,
say lighting has actually been tougher on us than a signal.
well, that's only
Yeah.
because we look for the
Right, right.
signals and stuff because
Look
we
for the
have to
signal.
because
Yeah.
we
So I
have
guess
done more
overall,
of those on more lives outside, I think,
yes,
than just about anybody.
We've got
I would
actually
agree.
two coming up in 2 weeks that we're gonna no yeah, two we're gonna be doing on the road.
Hmm.
When we're gonna be doing the Dixie Highway sale. We're gonna have to find two shows to run on Friday on the road, probably in our hotel, but
Okay, great response, Ken. Great response.
and Pro, what is the biggest advantage of having a show on the road?
Um, I have to go back to just that social aspect of sharing yourself, your adventure, your life with somebody else. Um, maybe being having a little bit more excitement about the items that you are selling because
Hmm.
they are new, they are something that you found in another area, there's something that you're excited. All the items that you have at home, you've seen them, you've touched them, you had to unload them out of a storage unit, you've had to move them home, you've had to move them, you've touched them and you've seen them so many times you're tired of them. Where
Right.
just also just being able to be excited about an item that you just found that day and you're going to sell it that same day if you're doing a selling show live on
Right.
your
Hmm.
adventure. If you're just doing one of those community shows, just that social aspect of being live from someplace else and sharing that with your fan base or your customer base or
Right.
your community.
Yeah, it's the story. You know, you get
Yes.
to tell the story of the item that you and Jill battled against, and oh, I found this great snow globe. I think you had a snow globe Santa, and the whole
Yeah.
story with it just adds to the excitement of that item that you really don't say when you're at home. Because
Yes.
as you said, you just don't have the story. You unload storage units or stuff like that. So
Exactly.
great pros and cons on that. Awesome. Great to finish that up with some good mac and cheese.
Now we are going to do a spotlight on live sellers, where
Yep.
we every week
Yes.
we spotlight a new seller, a growing seller, and an established seller on a live selling platform.
And Ken, you can even give us some of your feedback on some of these if you know who they are.
Our
Okay.
new seller this week is Kristen, a rural squirrel on the district. She sells in Shop Commons, Dibdit, Vintage Coach Collective, Knickknacks, and maybe some other sites too. She has 288 sales over on the district, which that is a very good start, and she's awesome.
Yes. Are you
Yes.
familiar with Kristen?
I am very familiar with Kristen and Roll Squirrel. Very, very good friend of mine. I have known Kristen for many years, from first starting YouTube and seeing YouTube channels and stuff. And before before we all started using Instagram and stuff. And we are in contact on a pretty regular basis. And she has recently really stepped up her
Yes,
her
she
live
has.
presence both on Whatnot and, other platforms. And she is really making a go of it because she was, I don't think I'm talking out of school. She had reevaluated. She was just on Whatnot. And at the end of last year, looking at the numbers, or say the beginning of this year, it was, okay, that's not my place. I need to focus more on my static selling and stuff like that. And then kind of, went to some other platforms, changed up her way of thinking, and now is really excelling in the live selling platform and enjoying it. Which, if you're not
that's the
enjoying
key.
it, it's don't, if you're not enjoying it, whatever it is, don't do it, because it's going to come across really quickly, especially in the live platform. Just find
she's
another
got a
avenue.
great personality too.
Oh, one of the funnest,
super nice people.
She is so supportive of everybody. She has 100%. Made us feel so included in everything.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah. And so now is our growing seller. And our growing seller is a girl named Kristen, a rural squirrel. On Whatnot,
there's two of them.
Growing. They're the same person too.
Okay.
Yeah, she is our new seller on the district, on the platforms that she sells on the district, and she is our growing seller on Whatnot. It had to be on Whatnot, because where does she do a lot of her shows from? Plush Live from the bins. So what we've been talking about is going on location and doing adventures, and she does that. She has over 3,000 followers on Whatnot, which is awesome, with over 1.4 thousand sales. Yes. And she mostly does plush. She was on a show this past Wednesday on a Ray train. Tracy was on that Ray train, also a plush Ray train, as Ken and I were talking about right there. So we already know that, and this is Kristen. We love Kristen to death. We got to meet Kristen for the second time at the Nashville meetup, and just super supportive of everybody on the platform.
Yes, she's just a great human, as I like to say.
Yes. And our established seller, I thought of them because it's someone we're actually going to visit next month. And
when we're coming back Ken, from Ohio, we'll be stopping.
We are stopping by to see I Love Discounts _com. That's Tony and Lysandra. Now, what's neat of them being an established seller is they have not been on the app long at all. About maybe 3 or 4 months at this point.
I think they're coming up on 5 months right now. 5 months.
They have achieved 20.5 thousand followers and 20,300 sales.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
They mostly sell beauty and healthcare products. They're like pallet pulls. They also have a brick and mortar business in doing pallet items and things. But we're very excited to get to spend some more time with them because we really connected with them in Nashville. And honestly, I look forward to learning from them.
Did you get a chance to talk to them?
Yes, I did. Super, super great folks. Enjoyed my visit with them. We all know in meetups, you don't always get the good quality time that you want with folks. But I did get to talk with them and have tuned into their Whatnot shows. Yeah, and some people just have the knack. They find that, like say, they're mostly into the health and beauty aids and cosmetic sort of stuff. They find their niche. They have a good source for that stuff. And where they can get a lot of it, and they can run a lot of shows and be on there and consistent, and just their their energy and their presentation of a show is it's why in just a couple of months, 5 months, 25,000 subscribers
20,
and that many sales, just incredible. And maybe I'll hitch a ride with you over there and visit them.
We're so looking forward to it.
And I don't know if you knew this, but after the Nashville meetup, about 5 days after the Nashville meetup, they went live from San Francisco. on
Really?
Whatnot.
No, I did not see
Yeah.
that one.
Just a community
Just
show.
a community
just
show. They were talking about
Just
watching
show.
the sunset in San Francisco. It was absolutely amazing. They watched cruise ships. You could see the Golden
Very
Gate Bridge.
cool.
They were on the beach. So again, it was one of those things where you turn an adventure into something that, you know, could possibly get you some followers, some buyers, whatever it
Yeah.
may be. You know,
Very
so those
cool.
are our three, even though one of
only
them
two.
is two, but these are our three. We have Kristen Rural Squirrel as a new seller on District, Kristen Rural Squirrel as a growing seller on Whatnot, and Tony and Lysandra over there at I Love Discounts
Yes.
_com as our established seller on Whatnot. Now we're going to do our What's New segment.
I had to
Things
dig
new.
for stuff for this today.
This is
That's
not
new.
big.
I'm
Not a lot
excited.
of ton of
Yeah,
new
this
stuff
is-
happening right now.
This isn't like one of the biggest things that we could do, but Whatnot has updated its logo. So they've gotten this new logo. I don't know if you've noticed it, but whenever you pop it on, it like explodes at you, and it's got like shoes and records and all these little things come popping out and stuff, and then it condenses down. So really kind of cool though. But at least Whatnot seems to be very aware and does not want to be
Yeah.
stagnant. They don't want to fall into that stagnant category. So that's one of the things that's new.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was watching the show that Whatnot did, because they do their own shows on Whatnot where they reach out to the community and tell them new things. And they were talking about the new logo and that they tweaked the yellow color a little bit. It's very subtle if you haven't noticed, but they have tweaked the color of yellow that they use with their logo. And they were also introducing in that same show as upcoming stuff is some merch, Whatnot merch
That'll be fun.
that people can purchase. I do have some Whatnot merch, but most of it has been something that I've won in a giveaway from, you know, some of the sellers that do the community shows. Whatnot provides them with banners and little stuffed animals and hats and socks and all of that stuff for them to give away.
We have a Whatnot t-shirt that we don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
It just showed up in his closet one day.
Works for me.
That's kooky. But yeah, so there's my what's new is there's going to be some Whatnot merch.
And I was going to mention a what's new on District. I don't know exactly how new it was, but I was going to ship something on a static site on District today.
We did have a District
and
sale.
It was a little bulky, so I went to look at the different shipping options, and I noticed you can now ship UPS straight through the site. Before you could ship UPS, but you had to do it pirate ship and then go plug in the number. Now you can ship UPS straight on the site. So that's very useful in certain cases.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a seller on District, I think that's great. And if you're a seller on Whatnot, hey, let's get on Whatnot, get on the board with, you know, opening up some of these venues for people to be able to use some of these other things. We were talking to Jeremy from Green 13, and he was actually telling us that he would love the ability to control his own shipping, i.e., he does it all, because his post office has offered him even a better deal than they're giving to Whatnot, because if he's a volume seller, so he gets a lot of things like that. So that would just be something.
And I know for us being on the East Coast, quite often if we're shipping West Coast, UPS is a lot cheaper than USPS.
Yeah, correct. Next is our Turn the Tables segment, where we get to flip the script, and we're going to let our guests ask a question of Tracy and I, mostly to Tracy.
Okay, I was going to ask this before we went on air, because we were talking earlier this afternoon, and I forgot to ask you a question that I wanted to ask you. So I thought, well, cool, flip the tables or turn the tables, or what's the segment called? Turn the tables.
Turn the tables.
I'll just ask it right here.
Okay.
I have seen you in the past when you have a big show coming up, or a show that you really want to get out there and advertise it. I will see you do a preview show of your items. So my question to you is, you can answer by telling the people what you do on your preview show. And have you found that to be an advantage? And would you recommend people doing a preview show?
I do recommend it if it's a show that you are. Let me go back. We've done it for shows that we're starting things off at $1, but these things have high value. So I want to try to get as much interest in on those shows. So what I do is I will go into do a live preview show, and I'll say, listen, we got 20 minutes. These are the 50, 60 items that we're selling because we're on a rate train. This is the primetime spotlight rate train that we do. And I'll showcase every single one of those items because it gives me more time to show the item, to talk about the item, to say, hey, look how exciting this thing is. You go ahead and comp it out. Okay, this is a $160 item on other sites, and we're starting it off at $1. So I'm showcasing it for that reason. And I recommend doing that if you're doing any type of a show that you are bringing good premium things that you would may normally put up on eBay. And you just decide, you know what, we're going to go for it and see if we can do something on Whatnot. Maybe the fees are getting, whatever it may be. And so you say, well, what's the best thing for me to do? Well, you have to tell the people what you have. So we title it a preview show of a show, and we do it the same day. We don't do it. I have seen people do it the day before when they're doing it. And it's usually a show that is a fast-paced show.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say is that we tend to do it when we're going to be on a limited time because some items we can't take all of it out of the box, show all the materials and everything. Right. We tell as much as we can, but then the people that may be very discerning buyers.
I do tell them that it's an empty box, believe it or not.
They may want to see more details ahead of time.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I tell them 10 times it's an empty box, and I put it in the title too. But yes, they are very, very, very beneficial in my opinion. But if you're doing a show where, like, I have a VHS show tomorrow, there's no benefit to doing a preview show on that.
Mainly because we have all the time in the world to run that show. It's not on a train.
Yeah. Correct.
And so, I asked that question just because we're recording this on a Thursday, and tomorrow on a Friday, I am doing my first white elephant style of show.
Yes.
Where things are hidden, but I kind of wanted to think about doing a preview show ahead of time so that people could see, hey, these, they do have the Yetis and the Starbucks and the Stanleys and all this stuff, and show them some of the designs to perhaps build a little hype for, when I'm now bidding on this as a surprise set, which used to be the mystery games. That's, one of the things that Whatnot has changed as a surprise set, white elephant style. I thought that it might be beneficial. And so that's because I've seen you do this on several opportunities. Of course, it's not a raid train. I don't have to sell fast. I can sell whenever I want. But I thought if I could build that hype a little bit and people could see, hey, these are not just your tumbler you're going to go out to, Walmart and buy for a few bucks and put in a bag. These are Stanleys and Yetis. And now that today's Thursday and that show is Friday, and this show comes out on Sunday, I'm going to say, man, that show was phenomenal. We sold out. I did a preview show. It's far exceeded our expectations.
You killed it.
And we appreciate everybody support.
Tracy got the banger. I mean, it's amazing.
She did. She won the Yetis.
She's not even talking about an item.
3 rounds. Yeah. It was so
she teed it up. I'm sorry, I had to hit that one.
That was my question of how, when one would use a preview show to your advantage. And perfect
I think
answer.
That is the perfect time to use one.
I would definitely
we didn't even mention that before, but we did do a mystery show once, and we used a preview show on that.
Yes.
We're not mystery sellers, but we have done a couple on raid trains.
Or surprise
Sellers.
Prices
But
don't
we have done it a time or two on trains, and we used a preview show then, and I feel like it was very beneficial.
Another thing that we use preview shows for is when we do a raid train. We do a preview show of everybody that is on the raid train to try to promote, all of the sellers that are on there to build up hype for everybody that is on there. Of course, we host one raid train a year, and that is our Veterans Day raid train on Veterans Day, which is November the 11th. And we'll be starting to do signups probably in October, maybe.
Yeah,
we'll probably start doing signups in October. And I know that you're doing a raid train in July, and we've already agreed that yes, we are definitely participating
on Christmas,
in that
Christmas
one.
We're
July.
putting Christmas stuff up to get ready for it.
Yeah,
that is the one. The one. It's can I pitch that here?
Absolutely,
of course. Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, here, let me do it this way, Ken. Let me do it this way, Ken. What's on the horizon for SSK promo and live reselling? It's literally written.
Funny you should ask.
Yes.
Funny you should ask. Being a seasonal Santa, for those of you that have been following me for a while, or if you haven't, usually the first weekend in July, or I start to grow out this beard and everything, and usually by the Santa season, it's a full beard, and I bleach everything, beard, eyebrows, everything, all the hair that's left on my head anyway. And I'm a seasonal Santa, and I do it because it brings joy. It brings joy to me, and it brings joy to other. And it's kind of not only a seasonal Santa, I call it a selfish Santa, because it brings me such joy to see somebody else happy or get a big smile that it's like almost I feel guilty that that I feel so good for. But Jill and I host one raid train a year on Whatnot, and that is during Christmas, or Christmas in July, which is kind of a thing. I've got some announcements about Christmas in July, which will come closer to that time, and I am going to start doing signups very soon for people that want to either start sourcing or save back some of that Christmas stuff that they do have. I am going to open it up to all the people that participated last year first. It was the first time I had ran a raid train, and I couldn't have been more humbled, having been a newer seller, that every person I asked, they just said yes. They didn't even say, what do I need to do? When do I need to be there? When do I need to do what? They just said yes. And so I'm going to open it up to those folks first to see if they want to join again this year. And then I'll fill in spots from there afterwards. And so look for that. If you follow me on Whatnot, I would appreciate that.
There'll be links down there below to Ken's
yes.
Whatnot, and also to 10 versus 10. And I'll throw in a link to Unemployed for a Living, which is this podcast. And you can literally see the transformation of Ken turning into seasonal Santa if you binge watch, which I have done. And I've watched every episode of it. Prior to being Unemployed for a Living, it was
Resell a Clickbait podcast.
Yeah, Resell a Clickbait podcast. You shouldn't have
given him an out. I was going to sit there and stare at him until he said it.
Shoot.
Yeah, well, that's a podcast that we killed that podcast.
There's usually a Santa beard reveal episode. So, okay, look at me right now. Turn and look at the screen if you're just listening. Here's what I look like. And go find one of those, and you'll see a Santa beard reveal.
It really is.
The difference that it is. And it's just a fun time. It's a fun season, and I enjoy it. And it all starts, it really literally for me with the beard growing starts in July. So it is that Christmas in July thing is just a really nice kickoff for me. And my Christmas Santa season actually starts, midway through which is always difficult because you have to grow this big old beard in the hottest months of the year. And then as soon as Christmas is over, like in that first week of January, I shave it all off down to my face, and to get all of the bleaching white and stuff out. Of course, then I look a little goofy until about February, when my eyebrows are still, mostly mostly white, but
I tried
looking
to
forward to
do
that.
growing my beard out, and it lasted until probably November. And at that point, I was like,
And
it's got to
it's
go.
nope.
It's got to go.
But kind of to finish up the question of what's new for Ken on the horizon of live selling,
Mhm.
I am planning to step it up a little bit more. I've been doing some stuff with some storage units. I do a lot of like curated shows where they're all similar types of items. I'm going to get more into that just random storage unit find stuff. But also where I find multiple stuffs. You know, if you do storage units, you find tons of CDs, DVDs, media of that nature and
Correct.
stuff. I'll do shows that are just like that. Some plush shows. Brian and I even kicked around today doing another plush battle. So that might be coming
Yeah,
up
I'm undefeated
here,
in plush
here
battles.
soon.
In 2025.
In 23.
You know, you always have to say that.
Well, it's sometimes you have to own up to a loss, just like I had to earlier in my loss to Jill last year. But yeah,
You'd be
so
so
that's
proud that you actually owned up to it too.
I did. I can't. I Jill is a very special person, and she's really gonna get me for this one because this is coming out on Sunday, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
her birthday, right?
Happy birthday, Jill. There we
you
go.
Happy birthday, Jill.
We love you. We can't wait to see you in a month. It's going to be amazing. It'll be so
It
much
is.
fun. I think we'll have a good time.
We will.
I think we're going to have a good time. Well,
Definitely.
we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We do have a guest next week already. Guests. Yes, we have 2 guests next week. For next week, we have Lauren and Josiah, which is Homeschool Mama, and Taco Joe are going to be our guests.
We're going to talk about kind of making live selling a family affair.
Yes,
Love
and how live
Lauren and
selling, being a homeschool mama, doing homeschooling and doing live selling, how to manage time and things of that nature.
Excellent. I'm looking
So,
forward to
Ken,
that one. Yes.
thank you very much for agreeing to be on our show. We really do appreciate
Anytime.
it. And links down below to all of the sites, all of the people that we showcased today will be down there below. And as always, stop soldier suicide. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, which is a day of remembrance of all of those soldiers or those people that gave the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms that we enjoy of being able to come out here and do a podcast and to do live selling and to go to Ohio and go to Nashville and do all of these things. Somebody paid that price.
Like I said, take your Memorial Day, have a barbecue, spend some time with your family, play some games, but just take that moment to remember also.
Yes. And we really appreciate it. Ken, thank you again. And check us out next week.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.